Hi, friends. It's Cheryl from Tutoring with Cheryl. And I know many of you are like jumping for joy right now because your kids went back to school. And then others of you are like, oh man, my kids went back to school. And it can get a little, you have these emotions one way or the other. But I really wanted to talk to you about what if you have the back to school blues? And maybe it's not so much you have the back to school blues, but it's your child has the back to school blues. You know, not all kids are excited about going back to school. Some of them are just feeling frustrated because last year they didn't have a good experience, or suddenly they developed some sort of a learning issue that maybe wasn't super prevalent. And of course, my husband is calling. I will have to turn him off for right now. Sorry, honey. I'll be right back. I'll be right back with you here in just a minute. So this live stream will probably be short because if you know me, I live on a farm and he probably needs a ride somewhere. But let's talk real quick about the importance of having routines for our children. When we have routines and maybe they're experiencing these blues because they went back to school and they're thinking about their experience from last year, or maybe they've had continued struggles, we can build routines for our kids to help boost their confidence. It's really important that they feel confident. Okay, so I have some notes off on my other monitor. So if you see me looking, that's what I'm looking at. And so basically, very first one that I want to talk to you about is the reduction of stress and anxiety. If your child has any kind of stress or anxiety, having routines in place for like the night before so that they're not feeling rushed in the morning could really be an amazing way to support your child. So let me give you an instance where it not only helped my kids, but it helped me when my children were younger. My children are all adults now. They're on their own. Our youngest is a senior in college. They all have their routines. But that was something that we really stressed when they were younger, the importance of having those routines. So the night before, we always made sure that the homework was done and the bag was packed, the backpack was packed, and it was by the door where their shoes were and where their coat was. So we were looking at the weather to see, do you need a winter coat? Do you need a sweatshirt? Do you need to wear shorts? What was on their schedule for school? Did they need to have some sort of a release form because they were going to take a field trip or something like that? So having nightly routines the night before and thinking about what does tomorrow look like and talking about it in advance can really reduce stress for kids. The second thing that I think, and it's on my notes, and I also I completely agree with this, is time management. I don't know about you guys, but you know, your kids have been at school all day, and the very last thing that they want to do is sit down immediately and do homework. And unfortunately, some of my students see me right after school. So I always encourage, do you have something to eat or drink? Go ahead and consume that while we're talking, but then I don't want them to play with it because, you know, I only see them for half hour, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how old they are when I'm providing services with. But having that time management. So let's say that your child walks in the door and they get home from school at, let's say, 3:30, 3:45, 4 o'clock. You're going to give them 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on the age of your child and how much homework they have or what the expectations are at your house, to just have some free time, have a snack, and just decompress. Because listen, if they don't have time to decompress and they've had a really anxious day, do you know who they're going to take that out on? They're going to take it out on you. And the whole evening is just not going to go well. So decompression time, if that means going to your room, closing the door and playing with your Legos, or if that means sitting down and you guys have a snack together and you talk about your day, you have to figure out what's going to work best for your child. But give them some downtime. And I know a lot of parents restrict screen time and television time. This time might not include that. This because I think we just need to just decompress. Now, if the plan is to come home and watch, you know, a PBS segment of something or whatever, great. But we don't want them to sit there for hours at a time because we're stimulating their brain the entire time. So just some real downtime, I think, is really important. So when they see that they've had that break, then you can reintroduce. All right, let's look in your backpack. Let's see what you have for homework. Now, in the meantime, you're probably prepping supper. You're changing the baby's diaper. You're maybe on a quick phone call for work, whatever it happens to be, because you have your own routines, right? But we want to support our kids so that they feel really confident. So Then when they have the homework, look at how much homework there is. If they came home with 30 math problems, that's going to take a long time. I certainly hope that they're not coming home with 30 math problems. I hope that they're not coming home with a whole book that they have to read the next day. Because if that's the case, the time wasn't managed leading up to it. So we just want to start to incorporate these time management. So maybe set the timer for 10 minutes. We're going to work on this for 10 minutes, and then we're both going to get up and we're going to walk around and we'll play one round of this game, and then we're going to come back. Whatever it's going to take to keep your child motivated to get through the homework, really think about that. How much energy do you have to put into balancing your checkbook? How much energy do you have into planning your next vacation? How much energy do you have in your mind to answer all of the emails that you have? Do you sit down and you do it for 2 or 3 hours? No, you don't. You do a little bit, you get up and take a break. So keep that in mind when you're setting routines for your children. And then when we are, so this leads me to the next thing, is by having those time limits or having these routines, it's really going to focus the energy. So if they've had a little downtime, they know they're going to work for a chunk of time and then they're going to take a quick break and then come back to it. They train their brain that they can work for periods of time, but then they can take a quick break. And that might just be standing up, getting a drink, taking a few breaths, talking about something, and then coming right back to it. Even in my longer sessions with my students, if I've got a student that's with me for an hour, we'll do something for 10 minutes max, and then we stop and we talk about something, or we will play a game, or we'll do something that will kind of train the brain that they don't have to be completely focused the entire time. Because I don't know about you, but it's really hard to go to a meeting at work and sit there for an hour and really be focused that entire time. So we also, by teaching our kids about routines and time management, we are promoting independence. And I think we want all of our kids to be independent at some point, okay? And if you've got a preschooler, they're not going to be very independent. But if you have a senior in high school and you've done all of these things to help promote throughout the years, they're going to be much more capable of just saying, yeah, I'm going to go to my room. I got work to do. And they might even be able to multitask at that point. But really depends on the age of your student and how much time it's going to take. And then finally, routines really matter because they're going to support healthy habits. Even for me, as a online reading tutor, I have to mark out things on my phone, on my calendar, and set reminders. I was just supposed to meet with a parent who rescheduled for a couple days later, and because I didn't have it in on my phone, missed that meeting, and it wasn't intentional. We had changed it and we had changed it again, and in my mind, we'd already done it. So, it happens. It's going to happen. Doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So having those routines, when you change the routine up, you forget things, and it happens. I think we all have to admit that we make mistakes. If we don't admit that we make mistakes and our kids don't see us make mistakes, they're going to see making mistakes as failure, and we don't want that. So really thinking about the routines and why they're important. Okay, I want to look down at the bottom part of my notes because I have to move the screen. Okay, so the effectiveness of those routines. Again, I mentioned starting this when they're young, because if you've got a sophomore that's been in school for a number of years and there's never been any routines, and now you're going to be like, all right, you have to have a set bedtime and you've never had one, trust me, that's not going to work. I mean, they're just going to fight you tooth and nail. So start these routines early. Involve your child. Like if they've got 3 things to do for homework, ask them, what would you like to start with? I do that in my tutoring sessions. I tell the kids, this is what we're going to do. Where would you like to start? That's where we start. Because in the end, we're going to get to the same point. So give them some voice and choice, and they're going to feel empowered and they're going to feel a part of it. Be flexible. They've got homework, but you want to have supper first, and that gets in the way of your routine. Just tell them, tonight we have to eat early. We're going to change things up, but I'm still going to hold the study time with you, or you're still going to have to sit down, but you can still do your normal routine. And then celebrate success. Gosh darn it, when our kids are successful, if we don't take a moment to say, wow, I'm really proud of you, you worked hard, they're going to think all of that work was for nothing. So really encouraging, even if it didn't go quite the way that you thought it was going to go, you guys can just say, wow, we did a great job. And let's celebrate that. Okay. A hug, a high five, double thumbs up, whatever it happens to be. You don't have to go and buy your child anything. Don't do that, but just really encourage them. All right, that's all I have for you. Do you think that's going to help your child with their back to school blues? It might not. It might not. But this is I just try to sprinkle these little bits and pieces in here for you so that your child can meet with success. And I am super excited because tomorrow afternoon from 4 to 5:30, I'm holding an open house at a local church in their meeting area to meet people because, hey, I work from this space. So I'm going to go to town, be a little bit easier to see me. You can stop in and see me from 4 to 5:30, pick up some freebies. I've got some donated books. I've got bookmarks and some pencils and some activity pages for the kids. And I would love to meet you and your family. So if you're out and about, make sure that you stop in. You guys make it a great day. And as usual, keep the learning going.